The Philadelphia Flyers are the laughingstock of the NHL. Flyers are a storied franchise, and they're a franchise that has always held the reputation of being the Broad Street Bullies. In a game where skill and coaching is the primary factor to having success, Philly has struggled immensely to have that success and live up to the Philadelphia name. Last year, the Flyers finished 29th in the NHL, and it seemed like nothing went right for them from the very beginning. Many questioned Philly's dressing room and how engaged they were throughout the season. Naturally, in this offseason, the Flyers brass decided to sign noted locker room glue guy, Tony DeAngelo. Going into this season, there is a ton of questions about the direction that the Philadelphia Flyers should go in. So naturally, what do you do when you have a so-called disengaged team and a team with some players that do have some talent? Well, you hire this man.
Guess that's what I'm saying, Brooksy.
No matter what you think of John Tortorella, whether you're a fan of him or not, he is wildly entertaining. He's one of the last few old school coaches left in the NHL. Now, obviously, John Tortorella has a reputation of being a pretty hard-nosed coach, but to give him credit, he has adapted and evolved over the years from his time in Tampa Bay all the way up to where he is now in his coaching career. In his later years, he's actually done a decent job at getting the most out of his players in a short amount of time. One thing is for certain with John Tortorella's teams, and it's that there will be no easy nights without consequences. Torts is obviously known to squeeze the most out of his teams until eventually it feels like he's overstayed his welcome. The classic incident when he was the coach of the Canucks and basically picking a fight with the entire Calgary Flames team, that was amazing. Then you have the Pierre-Luc Dubois era in Columbus. Honestly, in my opinion, Torts was right. Pierre-Luc Dubois was giving a miserable effort. Could he have handled it better? And you look back at that series in Toronto where he gave Pierre-Luc Dubois an earful on the bench in front of everyone, is not afraid to single you out no matter what your status or your reputation is on a specific team. You also have many of his famous interviews where he's either blowing up or he's roasting someone. Either way, you know what you're getting with John Tortorella. To be clear, I love Torts. I think he can bring some stability to Philly if everything goes right, but only for a brief stint. Considering Philly's position with their core and some bad contracts to go with it, they will need to find a way to get the most out of this current group, and he will do that by challenging them consistently. Training camp is already off to a roaring start with guys almost passing out and him saying that he's in no rush to name a captain and that he's got major concerns about what's going on in the locker room. I think that is the beautiful thing about John Tortorella, because if you look at the Philadelphia Flyers from afar, you think, wow, they're bringing in a guy like John Tortorella to really clean things up and to make this a proud organization again. It could either go one of two ways. I mean, it could be an entire disaster for the Philadelphia Flyers organization. At the same time, can it get much worse? Flyers were a miserable team last year, and they did it in a way that wouldn't make neither their fans or themselves proud. So to bring in a guy like John Tortorella, who you know is going to push the limits of all these players and hold each one of them accountable, I think it's a decent move for Philadelphia considering their situation. Now, you throw a guy like Tony DeAngelo in the mix, if you can't control the locker room, things can get pretty explosive fast, and I guess we'll see how that works out throughout the season. Bringing in a guy like Torts can really change the culture in Philadelphia, but John Tortorella is going to set a precedent in Philadelphia. But in order for Philly to truly turn things around, it's going to take a lot more than just motivational speeches and bag skates from John Tortorella. Something will actually have to change tactically on the ice for the Philadelphia Flyers for them to have at least some more success this season. Philly, from a strategic and tactics standpoint last year, was miserable. With Mike Yeo as their coach, systems were not very effective. Like most struggling teams last year, like Ottawa, Columbus, and Arizona, they tried to generate offense through the points. With players like Ristolainen, Provorov, and what was supposed to be Ryan Ellis, this somewhat made sense. Combine that with their uninspired possession play and their shortage of players who can do damage on the rush, you have a team who struggles to generate anything consistent offensively. Now you combine that with a poor execution of a 1-2-2 neutral zone forecheck by being fairly skinny to protect the middle of the ice, they can easily get exposed in the rush, and that was something that really exposed them last year, was teams would just eat them alive on the rush. Now, with Torts being the head coach, I expect them to obviously tighten things up defensively and do things a lot more by committee, similar to what Torts has done with his past teams. Now, this team with this current personnel cannot dominate off the rush. They just don't have the speed. But what they can do is create high 3v2s in the offensive zone to create some offense and ultimately have it feed into their play in the neutral zone. As a result, I think that they should adopt a very similar style to what made the Barry Trotz Islander teams so successful. A team without a ton of high-end skill, who had success by committee. A suffocating 1-1-3 neutral zone that ultimately took the New York Islanders to the Eastern Conference Final. They were able to easily snuff out rush plays and create turnovers in the neutral zone and have it feed into their rush chances on the other side. Current personnel that they have and teams that are successful of their skill level have to adopt a similar system to this. Carter Hart gets his magic back and they do things by committee over in Philly. I think they can surprise a lot of teams by being way more competitive than they were last year. Now, these are all tactical changes that do take time to implement. I want to know your opinion. Do you think that John Tortorella can possibly sneak the Philadelphia Flyers into the playoffs this year? Let me know what you think down below. I will be featuring the top comment in the next video. This week's featured comment is from Trey Gray, who makes a great point about why he thinks some players are retiring earlier and earlier. The game is getting faster, it's getting younger, and who knows what the regular retirement age will be 10 years from now. Make sure you leave your comments down below so you can be featured in the next video. I also want to shout out quickly Hockey Helps the Homeless for sponsoring this week's video. If you don't know what Hockey Helps the Homeless is all about, they're a great organization that hosts hockey tournaments all across Canada to raise awareness and combat homelessness. Their tournaments are a blast with former NHL legends coming out to support the cause like Wendell Clark, George Laraque, Mike Gardner, and so much more. The tournament coming up September 30th, which is very, very soon. It's the Barrie Tournament. If you want more information, check those links out down below. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and turn on notifications. It helps out this channel immensely. I want to thank you all for watching and we'll see you soon.